Hello, and welcome to a very special edition of Anfield Index Pro Plus as well. We've got a very familiar face to the Liverpool scene. You know who Craig is. But Craig, massive thank you for jumping on the episode tonight, mate. And most importantly, hope you're keeping well, bud. How are you?
It's a pleasure to be on, Jack. Honestly, it's like being back home, as we're probably going to get into in a moment. But yeah, I appreciate you guys inviting me on. Obviously, I did a video with Mo the other day, and it garnered a lot of interest, and I think people were quite pleased with the topics we were discussing. So, feels only right to come on and have a good chat with yourself.
Yeah, we all love Liverpool. Every single Liverpool fan around the world, mate, and it's an important discussions that need to be had as well. And as we say, we're all one big family. We support the football club, and let's all stick together as well, Reds. Reds, we've got a couple of questions. If you haven't seen, obviously, the Money Talks episode on Anfield Index, definitely check it out. Mo and the lads did. Tadwa hosted obviously Mo Charter as well about the Money Talks podcast. That is available on Anfield Index on YouTube. But obviously, Craig, just shout out obviously the episode you did do with Mo on your channel this week, mate.
Yeah, we had Mo on for a chat and obviously leaned into his expertise on all things around the finances. It was a good 50-minute conversation. It's one of the longer form interviews we've done over on Anfield Agenda. So yeah, it's up there on the YouTube channel. If anybody has a chance, it's just look up the Mo Chatter interview. I'll see it on the thumbnails, and I hope they enjoyed it because I certainly learned a lot from chatting with Mo.
Yeah, 100%, mate. I certainly did. I've listened to both pods anyway. Obviously, you know Craig. He's garnered so many, over 300 plus Liverpool fans or followers across all social media platforms as well. Speaks on important issues, but most importantly, he loves Liverpool. And we were speaking just being in the green room before we come on air, mate. It was you very much started life on YouTube or in social media in regards to Anfield Index. Do you want to fill everyone in?
Yeah, I did. So I got chatting with Gags one time on Twitter back in the day, and he asked me that I want to write a few little pieces because I'd started to blog a little bit about Liverpool, and I thought, yeah, why not? I'm an idiot. I'm not very good at writing stuff, but I'll give it a go. So started doing some writing for Anfield Index, and then, as you probably know, they had the Writers Podcast where once a week everybody came together and discussed the stories. And that was my first ever podcast, and I kind of caught the bug from that, to be honest with you. And from there, here we are 6.5, 7 years later. And I always have fond thoughts of Anfield Index because, as I said, it's where I started my journey.
Yeah, you're not done too bad, have you, mate, along the way? Yeah, in terms of, obviously, just a quick one. Obviously, chat, if you are tuning in or if you are watching on the repeat, most importantly, make sure you do hit that subscribe button. If you're not following Craig, follow him on all social media platforms, or the links are in the description and attached to all the social posts that will follow that we've done before anyway. But Anfield's agenda, you know where to find him. Just a quick one, mate. Just a fun one. Like, obviously, who got you into supporting Liverpool, mate? Was it very much an early, and was it a certain player, certain like relatives, or like where did your love for Liverpool start for you?
It's a little bit of a weird story, Jack, to be honest with you. So there's two versions of this story. There's the one where I tried to make my mum and dad sound a little bit more glamorous, but the real story is there was Chinese and cans for my mum at a friend's house on the other side of Dublin when I was younger. And they were in the kitchen, doing what adults do. When I was a young 8-year-old guy in the living room. So I was flicking through the channels, and I'd only started to fall in love with football, but I came across the Arsenal-Liverpool game from the 89 season where they beat us 2-0 at Anfield. And that game mesmerised me with Anfield, and I just fell in love with Liverpool off the back of a loss. And because I was so shocked at the Anfield crowd applauding off that Arsenal team and the respect that was shown, I just fell in love. And then as I got a little bit older and I researched the history between Ireland and Liverpool and the two cities, it just strengthened those bonds. So in a weird way, it was a loss that made me fall in love with the club. And I wish it was, I've no brothers and sisters. My dad wasn't really that much into football. So I just kind of stumbled across it my own way.
Yeah, it's so important to you, so important to me, so important to every Liverpool fan around the world. It's Red. So yeah, we'll get straight into, obviously, if you haven't seen the Mo Chatter interview on Craig's channel and of course on Anfield Index, check it out. Very good, extensive chat about all the financial senses in and about. But obviously a couple of these questions we'll pose to that. So if you are watching on the repeat, check that out before, and then you can very much follow this up as well. But in terms of the financial sense, Craig, at Liverpool, it's we've seen over the last couple of years the difficulties that Liverpool have very much had. But based off, obviously, Mo did highlight that FSG is one of the few ownership groups in English football that doesn't invest their own money into the club. So I'll ask you, and I'll pose this question to you, Bud. Do you think that this is it's a self-sustainable model? Is it sustainable long term? And if so, is it especially with the increased spending from other rivals within the English Premier League and across European football?
So I guess I should give a bit more context to my answer and go back and say that there's a lot of good things that these owners do with the football club. And I'm certainly not somebody who doesn't believe they deserve credit. They gave us 2 fantastic managers. They have delivered the Premier League and the European Cup. But what I think has honestly happened, Jack, is the football's changed since they took over. So they bought the club and they thought that FFP was going to be enforced at the time. And they backed themselves and the clever people within the ownership group to find a way to be the smartest guys in the room and punch above their weight. But when that hasn't been enforced over the years, we've seen the finances of football and change quite a bit. So for them at this point to have a club that have come on leaps and bounds with regards to valuations and not invest some of their own money in it, I find it sickening, to be honest with you, because I don't believe for one second that Liverpool are investing everything that they can in the squad. And, you know, we know the questions around the rise of the wage bill and other stuff that's come up in the last few days, but I just think they're 85% of the way there, and Liverpool fans just want those 1 or 2 quality additions. I always go back to a quote from Jurgen, where he said that it's healthy to bring in 1 or 2 new faces every window, to freshen things up, to keep the squad on their toes, to increase competition. And I feel like our owners have sat in their hands a little bit, and they've allowed things to develop that should never have happened, like the Trent situation with his contract. There's no rhyme or reason as to why that's been allowed to get to this point. So there are things like that that just stick in my throat. And the fact that now in football, it's almost seen as a dirty word to take on any debt, or for owners maybe to put some of their own money into the club. Yeah. But we've seen the landscape change, Jack, and I feel they've just been left behind at the minute. And they're always going to be clever. They're always going to find hidden diamonds. But I think we're at a developmental stage as a club now where we should be expecting a little bit more than having to rely on bargains all the time or having to be the smartest guys in the room. You know the money that the club are bringing in now. It's huge. Yeah. We're right up there. We're one of the biggest clubs in world football. I just want these owners to be a bit more ambitious. So, yeah, the fact they're not putting in any of their own money, it doesn't surprise me, but it surprises me the amount of people that still defend the behaviour.
Yeah. Do you anticipate this to be a sustainable model in that practice, really? Because, as we've said, you look at Brighton, the investment, obviously, as you spoke with Mo, there's a lot of infrastructure in terms of the spending. You look at Forest teams, and especially, it's so important, like every red knows, Craig, in terms of strengthening when you're on top. It's a lot more difficult to very much do that a couple of years down the line when Liverpool have kind of very much diminished in certain aspects on a playing side, because the most important aspect of every football club is the players on the pitch. They win you the trophies, and most importantly, the most important signing over the last 7-8 years was Jurgen Klopp, getting him into the football club and very much continuing what Jurgen spent so long doing. And of course he got tired, which is understandable as well, mate. But do you anticipate in terms of their model, in terms of structure for the next couple of years, do you expect them to ride it out, or do you think
it's so difficult to know? Because we've heard Arne Slot this week come out and say that we're working on stuff for the summer, you know, we're going to strengthen and we'll be able to challenge for the years to come. But it needs clarity on whether that's going to be strengthening after having to replace the lads whose contracts are up. Or are we going to go out there and get these contracts sorted out and then bring in the 1 or 2 additions? If we get the contracts done, I think 1 or 2 additions is absolutely fine. And I don't think we should be needing wholesale changes. But it's just that uncertainty. So sustainable model, we've spent 300 million quid over the last 9 years net spend versus $1 billion from United, $1 billion from Chelsea, 700 million from Arsenal, I think. And that is the difference for me. These other clubs are able to do it. They're able to find ways to spend this money. And as you mentioned, to get to the top of the mountain is difficult. And we've gotten there twice now and not capitalized, not built a dynasty, not put together a team that should be the envy of Europe. And it feels to me, Jack, like we're almost hoping we win the league this year and then expecting Manchester City and Arsenal to go out and spend again and hope for the best. So if we can get clarity on the contracts, I think the summer becomes a lot more relaxing for people. But whilst we still don't have confirmation of Virgil, Mohamed and Trent, and then obviously there's concern about Diaz and Canade, who are next up for contract extensions, I just think it's just adding anxiety to how Liverpool fans are feeling at the minute.
Yeah, and obviously for a generation that grew up in the 70s, 60s and 80s, Liverpool spent money. Kenny was a record transfer fee. The legendary figures that were at Liverpool and we sing songs about now, Liverpool spent money then. Let's not kid ourselves that we don't. Like, to be a sustainable business, you need to invest as well to continue, and you're 100% right there, Craig, mate. In terms of very much an interesting point that was made on the podcast in regards to you and Mo made an interesting point in regards to how Liverpool downplays its financial strength to the media in that regard. Do you think that they do this, or do you see them as is it very much a smart tactic or an unnecessary move that leads to frustration amongst fans?
To me, it just adds to the grimy, greasy nature of it all from the owners. You know, imagine trying to sell the vision of the club around the world to sponsors, commercial partners, asking top dollar, and then trying to play poor mouth to the fan base, whilst at the same time having these fantastic deals with Nike and probably Adidas from next year. It is a bit weird that you try to play poor to the football world when everybody knows the money that's coming in the door. So, yeah, it's a difficult look. Nobody wants to go into any negotiation with people feeling you're flush with cash. I can understand that wholeheartedly. Yeah. But at the same time, it just does feel like we're so desensitized to spending at the club now. We expect so little from them that I think they just get away with a lot, to be honest with you, Jack. And is it sustainable? Absolutely. But what's sustainable for us fans is a very different conversation. I mean, look at the money that the club has gone up since they bought it. 5 billion, roughly.
It's amazing.
It's been added onto it. I mean, that's incredible. And I've never had any issue with these owners when they sell up taking that money. But while they own the club, I think that they have a duty of care, as you said, to keep us challenging and winning. Arne's brilliant. No complaints about the manager. We don't know what to make of Richard Hughes yet because we haven't really seen him do much work, or we don't have many samples of his work. So at the moment, I think, yes, it's sustainable, but the spending needs to be increased a little bit. But look, nobody wants the football club to be in financial peril. And what always happens here, Jack, is there's extremes of these debates. So if I come on and I say, well, Liverpool need to spend more money, people come on and go, oh, you want us to be Chelsea, or you want us to be Manchester City or PSG. No, we don't. We just want what other clubs at our size, what our financial might are doing, which is a bit more spending. Like £40 million net spend over 9 or 10 years, just not good enough for a club the size of Liverpool in this day and age in football, where Matoma's worth 70, 80 million euro and we're not spending any money whatsoever. It just doesn't add up. It just doesn't add up, Jack. Yeah,
it's that's always the certain scenarios that do get spun on socials as well, even going to ground or when you speak to your mates or whatnot. It's difficult, and especially it's Liverpool. We've built ourselves up for so long in terms of it's difficult, mate, isn't it? But we spot on. In terms of the transfers and the squad investments and recruitment going forward, mate. You spoke about the frustrations of Liverpool's recruitment strategy, particularly to the club's reluctance to pivot quickly after missing out on targets, and i.e. Tchouaméni, obviously Jude Bellingham as well. Do you think that this cautious approach is holding Liverpool back in the transfer window in terms of like we've got a season like this season, like we did have last year? We got to February and the wheels fell off, i.e. because we knew all the players were in the red and very much fatigued and injuries do happen. We're not like Arsenal fans. Every Liverpool fans watched many of hours of watching Liverpool and just games in general. Like, injuries will succumb. Remember that season where we had Fabinho, Henderson and like the 20-odd centre-back pairings then? And we had Kabak, and then we had other players coming in.
Ben Davies.
Yeah, who is he? I don't even know. I don't think any of us know. So in that regard, do you think in terms of the approaches are holding Liverpool back? Could he? I think you might have alluded to it before, mate, but in terms of for the next years to come as well, will it stop very much Arne Slot building on what he wants to do? Because at Feyenoord, he made a raft of changes. I think anyone goes back to his time when he moved from AZ Alkmaar to very much Feyenoord. I know it's very different because Liverpool is one of the biggest institutions in world football as well, but he needs to stamp his authority on the team. He would have had some assurances in terms of that management. This first interview, I need players to come into the club, players the agent. what you think, mate, on that regard?
I think, as you've rightly said, when we've rolled the dice in the past and we haven't strengthened, whether it be the Arthur Mello signing late in the window for midfield, whether it be the Ozan Kabak, Ben Davies, it seems to be when we're close to missing out on Champions League football, they spend. So look at the year we were out there. They went out and gave Jurgen Klopp and George Schmaka some money to go out and bring in players like Soboslai that we did, Grafenberg. This season, we're in a great position. Nobody knows if we're going to get injuries or not in the second half of the season. It's impossible to guess, but we're not preparing ourselves for the eventuality that we may. I think most Liverpool fans would think we're a Ryan Gravenberch or Virgil van Dijk injury away from things getting a little bit squeaky bum time. And that's avoidable. Look, most people in the summer understood Arne's just come in, Richard Hughes has settled into the new job, and we were all told priority number one for Richard was to get the contract sorted out. Arne needed to assess the squad. So people thought, okay, fair enough, it's a quiet window, but it's understandable. New manager, new sporting director. Then we come to the winter, and we've got ourselves into a position where, let's be honest, nobody thought we were going to win this league title this season. Nobody. Opta gave us 5%, and I'm not even trying to make that up as a joke, literally 5%. I thought third would be great. And here we are, top of the league. And rather than trying to guarantee that we get over that line and make sure that we have a great end to the Premier League campaign, the Champions League campaign, we're being told that the club are making brave, bold, courageous decisions to hold their nerve to do nothing till the summer. That's not what I hear. What I hear is we're rolling the dice, and if we get over the league title, we would have brilliant. But if we don't, whoopsies. And we can't keep writing off years, Jack. We can't as fans, man. How many trophies?
Van Dijk, Salah's. Yeah, 100%. I was going to say quickly on that one, mate, as you said, with Jürgen, he was our best manager in my lifetime, mate. Obviously, we had the odd years with Rafa, obviously Champions League, 2 Champions League finals with Rafa. Rodgers was it one great season, but that we know that one, a certain couple of players carried us over the line in that regard as well. But yeah, it's we're missing out on the best years of Van Dijk, Salah, and certainly, what was it? Everyone's done countless shows on the comments from last season and the year before from Salah, Van Dijk in press conferences when they're going into mixed zones. Everyone, we know that the modern day players got so much power at their disposal, the amount of millions that they do own, but they're like in any job, you want to see improvements, you want to see people with alongside you in the job that can very much benefit you in a role, and certainly as a whole team collective bring the best out of the football club, mate. So it's so frustrating for me, Craig. I don't know how you feel in terms of, as you said, like they're getting the best years out of Van Dijk. He's not getting any younger. So
I like to ask this question: does anybody watching this video feel that if Mohamed Salah, Trent, and Virgil don't extend and leave, that they trust the club to replace them adequately? I think Mo spoke about a number of about £400 million he feels it would take Liverpool to adequately replace those players, if indeed they could find replacements. That concerns me. People talking about Jarell Haddo as an example and Liverpool being linked to him. That's great if Virgil stays. But if Virgil doesn't stay and we're bringing in a young kid along with Kwanzaa and Konate to try and replace Virgil, it's madness. So I don't think anybody can really look to the summer window without knowing the contract situation of Virgil, Mo and Trent. And that's a piss take that we're still in this position. Like, to get to where we are, and those guys, none of them have extended. They've all rejected contract offers. You can only assume they're being lowballed.
Yeah, that's mad, mate, isn't it? Like, for a player that all 3 best positions, all best players in their best positions, mate. Best right back in world football, best centre half, and obviously best right winger in world football.
How do you let a 26-year-old local boy, as you said, maybe one of the best right backs in world football, when you take into consideration his passing range and everything else that Trent brings, how do you let him get to this point? And it wasn't Richard Hughes' fault, of course. He inherited it, but we still had from the summer to now with no movement. It's
George Scamacca as well. It's
really worrying to so many Liverpool fans, because you see the likes of United, who haven't got 2p to rub together. Diallo's contract sorted. Manchester City, all the problems around them. 9.5-year deal for Haaland, new deal for Pep on 170 million quid spent in the window, and still looking to do more. It's all very well and good saying we're top of the Premier League, we were top of the Champions League group. But the second half of the season, where the Champions League gets serious, you now have a different Manchester City. You've gone out there and strengthened dramatically. You'll have a Real Madrid who usually find form in the second half. And we're just sitting on our hands and hoping that Arne can keep rotating and keeping players fit, rather than bringing in, let's say, one extra player, be that a left back, a midfielder, a defender, to just give a bit more breathing room in the squad. Do you remember when Gomez was injured and Jarrell Kwanzaa was ill and got taken off in the game?
Yeah.
We all thought initially he was injured, and then we would have had two centre-backs, at the club. That's unacceptable for a club the size of Liverpool.
Yeah. Absolutely madness, mate. Let's hope we're not here. And as you said at the top of the show, mate, obviously, judging from the press conference today, Slot did big up very much this summer. But we're on like the 7th summer now. Everyone ago, and quite rightly, will pinpoint, as you alluded to, the great summer we had last year. Well done. Like, that was neglect from previous years. We ran Fabinho into the ground. He had nothing left in him. Ginny didn't replace him. Like, Henderson ran him into the ground. Give him a contract, but yet again, we were relying again on a navigator, Ox, Wheeler, and let's not forget, Craig, as well, all those wages that have gone. That I think you and Mo mentioned that on the pod as well. Like the wages, there's absolutely substantial wages that are leaving the football club. Where are they going?
Even just last summer, right? Let's say Thiago, Matip, and Adrian last summer. The club put out there and briefed the journalists 17 to 18 million pound a season saved off those wages. So initially, I think most fans think, cool, that'll pay for the contract extensions. That money that's saved there, some of that is probably going to be utilised and given to the lads who are due contract extensions. But here we are now, 6 months later, and nothing. No player in to help the manager this season. Chiesa's only getting some minutes now, which is okay. Marmadashvili, nobody knows what the goalkeeping future is going to be. We've let Kelleher run down to a year to go. We won't even get top dollar for him when they sell him. And for a club that are so prudent and try to make every penny count, we don't make very good decisions letting so many players walk out the door for free and then letting contracts run down. I just don't understand the sense of it all. It doesn't even make sense financially, as Mo pointed out.
Yeah. Just madness, absolutely madness, mate. Chat, keep on getting any comments in. If you are new round to Anfield Index, or if you're newly discovering Craig or whatnot, give him a follow as well on all social media platforms. And as we said at the top of the show, chat, if you are tuning in, you can rewind this episode and very much go back and listen to it in the full extent. But certainly do go and check out Craig's, obviously, video with Mo on his channel, and certainly, obviously, the Money Talks episode that is available on all social media platforms. And yeah, on the road to 10k as well. But yeah, a couple more questions as well. If that's we'll go with Craig in terms of the media narrative, really, on media coverage and the narrative control in regards to Liverpool.
This is where I get in trouble, isn't it? This is where I walk myself into trouble.
No, it's important questions, really. In terms of the theme in conversation with Mo that you did allude to this week in that regards, Liverpool-based media really holds the club accountable. Do you think this is anything to believe in terms of its damages the transparency between the club and its supporters, really? Do you think it damages very much the transparency between the club and the general red out there across the world?
Let's be clear about one thing. There is a calculated effort to make sure that the news that comes out is in unison and is positive and paints everything in a great light. And I, for 1 second, don't believe that anybody that covers this club from the local journalistic patch is doing good work. I don't think that they have ever held the club to account. I don't think that they ever pose any difficult questions. And I think that the carrot that's dangled of a potential job at the club to these journalists, as we've seen happen many times, by the way, look at people who have been inside and outside the club that still work covering the club. So you've got people and other fan accounts who won't ask the difficult questions because of their access. And it just doesn't feel healthy to me, Jack. And that's the problem I have with it. In every other walk of life, people are held to account. Politicians are asked difficult questions, and journalists, that's their job. But around our football club, and I can only speak around Liverpool because I'm a Liverpool fan, can you honestly say to me that you think the club gets covered in a way that there are dissenting voices highlighted or allowed to ask these tough questions? It all feels very much, here's what we want put out there, here's the narrative, this is what we're pushing. And I don't like it. I don't like that there isn't enough pushback against it.
Yeah, it's difficult, mate. I do find it. Obviously, I'm only a little channel anyway, mate. Been going on for a couple of years, not the size of yours, but I think there's certainly a responsibility, and there is all discussions that have been had by I'd say from every club source as well, mate. But sometimes certain seasons, certain windows as well, there can be more. And I think open discussion, as you alluded to there, for everyone. And the most important thing, as we said at the top of the show, we all love Liverpool. Like just get behind each other. I think if everyone had the same agreement in life, it'd be a very boring world. But the most important thing for every single Liverpool fan that is watching or listening to everyone's channels, just respect each other and just let's have these discussions on your platforms. Little old my channel, but obviously this is not my channel, by the way, chat. Anfield Index. It's everyone's got a platform, and certainly having your voice heard and having the very much the discussions that need to be had, of course, because the most important discussions in 2008 when FSG took over as well, that was very much fan clamour as well that needed to be said, and at that time the fans' voice on various platforms across social media as well, and obviously forums, and obviously Spirit of Shankly done really well then as well. And I do feel they do well in certain aspects of the club as well. And like every other fan group, every YouTube channel as well, everyone does really well in terms of just being unity is our strength as a Liverpool fan. And I think for as a whole collective unit, very much I do feel together we can do something very special this season, mate. Craig, I think not just this season, but for the next 5-10 years, mate. Like
if you've got a position where, let's just say it's very extreme, you're either FSG in or FSG out. That's the two narratives, right? Most of us are in the middle. Like the majority of us people feel there are things they can do better. There are things that they've done very well, but we have genuine concerns that we'd like addressed. And it's the vilification of people to paint them as extremes in either end that winds me up, because yes, there are some Liverpool fans who maybe want us to spend 300 million every summer, but they're certainly in the minority. Yes, there are Liverpool fans that are diehard FSG supporters. I think they're probably in the minority. And then there's most of us in the middle who believe lots of great stuff's being done. As you said, lots of great coverage of the club from broadcasters, journalists, fan accounts. But there's no middle. As you said, come together, have these conversations, and I think we'll all find that we have a lot more in common than we do that divides us.
Yeah, we all support the crest on the front, mate. That's what it's all about. And it's not just online fans as well, like that just have this narrative. Match going Reds as well. I know a couple of mates that do think that FSG do need to spend some money in general. It's not just online fans and this narrative that it's just people across the world. But it's the thing. It's difficult. But most important thing is people that do have a voice speak up for the people that don't as well, and have these positives.
I try to speak fairly as well, Jack, and balance.
Yeah,
I mean,
and balance. Yeah.
I've made judgments of people from social media. I'm sure people have made judgments of me from social media clips. But you always see everybody in their most extreme, angry, happy, embellished moments. But most of us, like we're having a chat here, we're down to earth, reasonable people who just, as we all said, and if you've rightly said, we just want the best for the club. We love the club and we want the success that we've had a little taste of to be there for the longer term. Because one thing I will say is to bring in a manager that they have done, and whether this is Hughes, Edwards, FSG, whoever you'd like to credit, to bring this manager in after Jurgen is a masterstroke. And the two managers that they've had in their reign, that they've picked, you can't question. Absolutely top notch. And to see the success we've had, I just feel, can you imagine what more we could do with just a little bit more spending? Not reckless spending, just a little bit more spending, one or two. I genuinely feel like we can outsmart everybody else with regards to the tactics, the rotation of Arne Slot. I think you mentioned Feyenoord earlier on. I think he had like a 90% first team availability when he was there, it was remarkable. The work him and Ruben Peters have done together to keep those guys fit and available is top notch, and he's done very well here with us as well.
Yeah, 100%, mate. 100%. Jas, got any questions or whatnot? We'll try and get through a couple. I know it's been very busy in the comments, which is what we love to see anyway. Just a quick closing question, really, Craig, as well, in regards to interesting one. If you could sit down with John Henry or Tom Werner for 10 minutes, what would be the one thing that you'd ask them to change and how they run Liverpool Football Club?
So firstly, sincerely, the first thing I'd ask John W. Henry is explain the model to me. Just tell me, explain to me why I'm wrong. Because I've never been able to get anyone to do that over the years. I'm open-minded. I'm not thinking I'm right, you're wrong. Explain to me the model and why this is the best way forward. And then after that, I would ask him quite simply, do you want to win? And what is winning for you? Is winning for you the valuation of the club going up? Or is winning for you going to Melwood, or excuse me, AXA Training Centre now, looking around and seeing more European Cups, because I think he likes the taste of winning. I like the taste of winning. The players like the taste of winning. So why aren't we doing that little bit more? I basically just love to pick his mind and know why this model is the right one for them, or does it need to be revisited?
Yeah, it's important, mate. It's important. That's a very... I'm trying to think what I'd ask him. Spend the money, John, please.
I mean, I could go with my catchphrase, which is, where's the money, John? Where's the money?
Yeah.
But ultimately, I'd be respectful like anybody else in the situation. I've always just said, if I'm wrong about any of this stuff, please just explain it to me, because I'm open to learning. And all I ever seem to get is people, again, going to extremes and saying, no, you're wrong, FSG are great, but they don't say why.
Yeah, I think we live in the world of social media, the TikTok generation. You can do a whole 2-hour episode, and this goes for everyone's content across social media platforms as well. Like they'll just look at 1 minute video of like your 2-hour episode, and it's like you're missing the context. You've missed all the good stuff, and you just, well, it's one of them, mate, isn't it? I think in terms of, if there's one player that you can very much look to, have you got an eye on a certain player or two, mate, that you'd like to see personally? Chat, let us know in the comments as well that you like thinking.
I know Kirkes is the one that everybody thinks. I like the Kuiper at Club Brugge. I like their left back. I think he's really, really good, and I think would kind of fall into the price point that is rather comforting for Liverpool at the minute. So I like the idea of him. But I just want to see Richard Hughes at work, because if you look at what he's done at Bournemouth and the signings he's made there, you can't but be impressed. So Semenyo is another interesting name as well. But even mention any of these, I'm sorry to keep having to come back to, but I keep coming back to the contract extension, because I don't know if I'm looking for a right winger to replace Mo or a right winger to learn for 2 years and then maybe Mo moves on. So until we get that clarity, it's difficult. But yeah, him, that young left back for me is somebody I keep an eye on. And I do like Semenyo as well, but I'm a little bit of a snob in that regard, man. I look at him coming up to Bristol, and I think Bristol, then Bournemouth, is it a big jump up to Liverpool? It feels it.
Yeah, well, you look at the quality that's come through, though, mate. You know, everyone knows. Everyone was like buying the whole City left back that got relegated. Look how well he turned out, Mane from Southampton. So
I love to go back to that, the Hull City, the Andy Robertson one. I just think we swapped him for Kevin Stewart. Basically, that's the most disgustingly good business ever.
Would that go down as one of your favourite transfers under the
you have to say, yeah, would you? Like, how could you not? Like, it's probably only second to Sammy Hyypiä years ago is one of my favourite Liverpool transfers, or one of the best bits of business that we've done as a club. You know, we got Sammy for next to nothing as well back in the day, and my God, he was some defender.
Yeah, 100%, mate, 100%. Let's get through a couple of the comments as well, chat. Obviously, won't keep Craig too long anyway, but very much appreciated, mate, jumping on Anfield Index this evening, mate, and you're always welcome on the channel, bud. And yeah, chat, as we said, off the back of tonight's show, and goes to everyone as well. Just be respectful to, if you disagree with different points as well, like, we're all adults, respect everyone's viewpoints, and just have a sensible discussion. I think that's all every Liverpool fan wants as well. Not this narrative that we want £70 million players every single position, every single window. We're not that.
On that, actually, before we finish up, I just want to highlight James McConnell real quickly. I thought he was sensational over in Eindhoven, and it was lovely to hear Arne come out and say as well that, well, I might have to keep this kid around now, because I thought, other than Chiesa, who was the senior player, I thought he was standout in that game for us, man. I thought he was brilliant. Yeah,
in terms of going quickly to conclude here, but in terms of obviously Bournemouth, big game. Well, every game is massive for Liverpool, whether that be in Europe, Premier League as well. Just one game at a time. We hope every weekend, and we can relax on a weekend and looking at certain other football clubs. And we've mentioned United already at the top of the show. We will be there, and certainly we will be there in terms of contention this season, Craig. In terms of going forwards into the back end of the season, mate, what are your hopes and very much your aspirations for Liverpool? Even if we don't bring in players, do you expect us to go all the way? I'm hoping we do.
I think we will, but you know what? This weekend I think is really big, because we play Bournemouth 3 p.m. tomorrow. And if we can get a win there, just think of the pressure that puts at the Emirates on Sunday on Arsenal's shoulders as they take on Man City. And that could be a big decisive swing of the weekend. Because if I'm an Arsenal fan, I'm looking at this thinking they might drop points there, And if they do, if we drop points, it's going to feed their confidence. So I think we need to put the foot in the throat, go there, get the win tomorrow, which isn't going to be easy because Bournemouth are a good side. And then I think this could be a decisive weekend. I think we'll get over the line for the league. I think we'll overturn Spurs on Thursday in the semi-final of the League Cup. And then after that, you need a little bit of luck, don't you, in the Champions League or the FA Cup. But I do feel Arne is destined to get that league title now in his first season. And wow.
How special would that be for you?
Oh man, it would be vindication of everything that Arne did to get to this point, because I can't speak to how impressed I've been with him just as a man. He feels like he's come into this job and he knows he's good enough and he knows it's his time and he knows he's paid his dues and his tactical acumen is tremendous. He carries himself so well, and I've been blown away by him. And for him to come in and do it when it was, everybody was ready to coronate Arsenal and give them a league title when City fell off. For Arne to come in and do that with Jurgen's squad as well, with a few minor tweaks, I think he deserves all the credit in the world, Jack. He's been absolutely phenomenal.
There was a certain Bob Paisley that come in over Shankly, mate. Quiet Bob, his nickname, as we know. And we know how good he's done. But yeah, most important thing, as we've said tonight, the playing staff having the quality, certainly, to have Liverpool competing.
I really want it for the City because nobody got to celebrate the last league title. I think the Premier League and Liverpool did a very good job in COVID times at what they did for the celebration. But the City needs that release. The City needs that celebration. And the players need to get the adulation of the crowd for even if it is a goodbye to some of them, just the recognition of the era we've had with them. I want them to have that love and appreciation from the City.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Craig, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Thank you very much for taking the time out. Quickly with Eddie saying he's got to pose a question. Do you think recruiting to replace, obviously, do you think LFC now, Craig, are recruiting to replace the big three, or do you think they'll be working on contract renewals by recruiting in other areas? What had he said there, mate?
I'd be a liar if I didn't think that with Michael Edwards back at the club and knowing that he doesn't like these contracts for players in their 30s to be too long, my fear is that they're looking to replace them in the market. And the longer that this contract situation drags on, the more likely I think that's going to be. And I don't think that Michael Edwards would be too upset whatsoever if we lost Virgil and Mo, because he wants young, hungry players, the next evolution of Liverpool. So yeah, I get the feeling that they're being lowballed, and it's a battle for hearts and minds now with the fans of trying to put a pressure back on the players to sign it at lower money. The players feeling like they want to be here, but they're not being acknowledged enough with the contract offers. So if they get those three players sorted, I think we'll all breathe a sigh of relief ahead of the summer window.
Yeah, certainly, mate. I'll quickly go over some of my questions that I did have. Make sure I've covered all bases here, buds. Yeah, I think in terms of we more or less covered everything, mate. But yeah, Craig, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. You're always welcome on the channel, mate. And as you did say, if anyone's just tuning in, Craig did start his journey on Anfield Index, and hopefully you will come. It's been a great chat, mate, and I really do appreciate you taking time out your very busy schedule. Much appreciated, mate. And obviously, do you want to plug any shows in terms of what's coming up? You've got a show tonight, or in terms of big shows coming up this week?
Well, obviously, we'll be live for the game tomorrow against Bournemouth. And look, I just want to say thank you for the invite on. Thank you to everybody who came in with an open mind to watch as well. And I'd just like to echo what Jack said. I think we do need to come together as fans and talk these things out. It's easier to find things that we have common ground on and build from there. So, yeah, enjoy the rest of the season. If you want to come over and check out Anfield Agenda, we're live most nights. Won't be tonight, but we will be out tomorrow for the watch along of the game. And we'd love to welcome you over. And thank you again for the invite on.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. And yeah, chat, massive thank you for everyone if you are discovering Anfield Index for the first time. Please do hit that subscribe button. We're just getting going really on YouTube. But yeah, as Craig's just echoed there, really, very rightly as well, in regards to as a fan base, let's get together really. And if we don't bring anyone in, let's just strap ourselves in and just go for this league title and go for the Champions League as well. Because yeah, as Craig said, that will be one celebration come at the end of the May anyway. Around the world as well. But Craig, been a pleasure, mate. And chat, do about go through quickly, rattle through a couple of these, quickly feature them. Mark, yeah, points nowhere near Europe as well. Arne, he's almost perfect. Barlow, not been too bad as Craig said. Yeah, thanks for that. You're very welcome, bud. And Craig, massive thank you, mate. And Reds, look after yourself. Have a lovely rest of your evening. And yeah, we'll be seeing you very much live. Hit that bell notification on. And yeah, as Greg said, we'll be doing a watch long as well on Anfield Index. But for now, Reds, good night and enjoy the game tomorrow. See you later.